Well, hello, Deb. Welcome to the Vision Summit, and I'm so glad to be in your company. Your story is so powerful, and what you're doing now in your life is just amazing. And I can't wait to go to one of your retreats. But I'm really hoping you'll speak into your life and where you might have started creating the life you absolutely love, and what areas in your life you felt stuck or you went through a certain trauma that you can talk about that you started to turn your life around.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me onto your summit. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
the opportunity to meet you and to share what I have to offer with your audience. So thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate that.
It's an honor.
Mm. Yeah. So traumas, it is a big question. So I'll do my best to kind of link it all together. So
You go for it.
I think most of us have trauma in our lives. Doesn't matter like what, point in life you come, what place in life you come from or how your upbringing is. Trauma to me can be anything from, our childhood. Maybe, you didn't get something you wanted and, it upset you and it set a belief system in your system that you started working off of, like a not enough sort of thing. I'm not enough. If I were enough, I would have been able to get that. So
Mm,
trauma is interesting when you start talking to people about it, because we imagine like the most horrific, traumatizing event that's possible, but there's degrees of trauma. So, and
right.
it's really funny when I work with people and I say, tell me about any traumas that you have. Oh, I haven't had any. But then as I start working, like, oh, well, I forgot about this, car accident that I had, or, this other thing.
Right.
So I think we tend to downplay what trauma
Yeah.
is. And it's really just how we live our life. It's like we don't honor and process through trauma. It's like it
Hmm.
happens, get up, brush yourself off, and go. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, um, my upbringing was a very traumatic thing. So it's not like I had a series of traumas, like my life was awesome. And then I had a series of traumas and awakening, da, da, da. I think, I just kind of, the family I landed in was it's just from day one, or even in utero, was kind of like, what the heck, what's going on here?
Right.
There's so much anger and so much drama and so much, trauma and abuse and yelling and all kinds of stuff. And I'm a very sensitive individual, so that was
Hmm.
really, it was jarring being born into
Yeah.
a family like that. And then,
No doubt.
yeah, so growing up, I was very introverted, very quiet, and really took all of that and turned it inward versus expressing it outward. So I didn't like, like
Hmm.
sometimes when there's a lot of anger that you're growing up in, you can do one of two things. You can either turn it inward or you reflect it outward,
Hmm.
and so I was more of like doing the inner damage, and so art, writing, time alone in nature, playing in the woods, being in the woods, connecting with trees, connecting with spirit guides. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. They were just, um, my imaginal friends, and using
Right.
my imagination.
You were
And
taking care of yourself.
yeah, exactly. And so that kind of laid the groundwork for the work that I do now, basically.
Yeah.
It was like that was
Right.
my early childhood learning. So even though it was traumatic, um, a lot of things, traumas, I had a lot of accidents, the accident prone kid in the family.
Mm.
I got a lot of bullying going through school. So it's like the whole thing it
Yeah, you
was
got
pretty
hit
traumatic.
hard.
I got hit hard. Not as hard as some people, but I got, I didn't have to have a lot happen to me to be traumatized by it, because, and that's what
Yeah.
I mean about when you're a witness
Hmm.
to someone else's, abusing someone abusing someone else or beating someone else up, and you're sensitive
Yeah.
and empathic, you tend to take that on. So you're not really
Definitely.
knowing the difference between what's mine and what's someone else's. You're just taking it
Yeah.
all in, and it becomes
As
really
if it's yours.
burdensome, as if it's
Right.
yours. Yeah. So that's one of the things that as little ones we just aren't really taught. It's, if anything, it's like it's okay that we take that on.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's kind of how it propelled me towards this. I always you know, kind of was always searching, even as a little kid, like, why am I even here? What's going on? Always asking, questions and
Mhm.
wondering, like, how on earth did I get here?
I
So I
could
always
relate.
had, yeah, so I always had, yeah, a certain sort of knowing that there was something more, something else. And
Yeah.
so I, was always questing for that, so it was, through my work as an artist, and it was, I just say it's the divine leading. I
Mhm.
didn't have to have an organized religion or, a spiritual guru to know enough to know that I'm looking for something, I'm seeking something. And I think we all are to some degree, not looking for more things, although I think it manifests in that, looking for, material objects
Answers.
to fill ourselves,
Mhm.
till that doesn't work anymore, because we're always seeking the bigger question: who am I and why am I here?
Yeah, but you
And
went in early to go within. So
mhm,
it's like, isn't that kind of the what the all the gurus and the spiritual teachings of the esoteric are like, it's all within. So you
yeah.
already did that as a little child.
Yeah, but I was doing it from more of a place of out of my body, which I didn't really have the concept for back then,
Gotcha.
which is why I think I had a lot of accidents and stuff, because it was more
Mhm.
of like my fight or flight system was always on high alert. And so I was always kind
Gotcha.
of outside of my body, which I think,
Oh
there's a gift in everything. And the gift in that was
yeah.
that my ability to stay connected to that spirit world, so the veil was
Mm-hmm.
always kind of thin for me. But yeah, the real world was harder for me to be in than the imaginal
Yes.
world. So my healing journey was more about landing me in my body, which
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. I talk about it different at different times, and it's just coming through this way. So like I kind of came from, and we all kind of do, from the outside to the inside. But I was never really anchored in this body because of a lot of that early childhood trauma. And that happens to a lot of us. And so
Yeah.
my journey through, art and going to art school, and like having a teacher like say to me, wow, your artwork is like so profound and so expressive and so dramatic for someone who's so demure. Where is this coming from? And I was kind of like so out of touch with it. I was like, oh, I'm probably just channeling all the pain in the universe, right? But as I kept going, and going into energy work, being exposed to different healing modalities and stuff, I started to realize like, oh, I'm really channeling my own pain that I was just
Mhm.
really out of touch with, because I was just so used to ignoring it and so used to minimizing it and so used to like making it okay, that I
Yeah.
was really a huge mess and didn't know it. And I guess maybe that's the grace, right? Because
Yes.
it's like looking back at it, I'm like, oh man, honey, you were a mess. But going through it, that's how you make your way through it, is that, lack of awareness of kind of how bad it is, because you don't really know how good it can get. you know
Right. And a lot of people numb out, but you were able to express all that mess. Some people, it takes a long time to unpack it and it's all contracted in there and you have to, you know, like untying a knot, you have to like
yeah,
find the thread that's loose and you had it all accessible.
yeah, but it is still like that, because it was still untying and not understanding, like, a big part of my healing was understanding what is me, what is my responsibility, what is my side of
Mhm.
the street, what belongs to another, finding my own sense of self.
Yeah.
So the energy work and the artwork that I would do, and the core belief work that I did early on, really helped me with that. And then I was working with people doing expressive art and Reiki, and, you know, trying to marry those two things together. And I just really had this strong intuitive sense that I needed to start working in the body, like physically working in the body. I started sensing like, you know, there's stuff trapped in our system. You know, that's just
Mhm.
how, you know, through working with people, it just kind of seemed like, yeah, like this energy work is great, but it seems like there's something else, there's something more. So
Right.
I decided like, all right, well, I'll go to massage school, because I didn't want to spend a lot more time in school because
Yeah.
you know, because I'm a lifetime learner. I don't have any problem with that, but there's commitments, you know, and life to
For
be
sure.
lived. So massage school was a great way, because I figured it would get me into the body. It's, you know, I can get my license to touch, and then from there I can do whatever comes along. And I knew I wasn't going to just be doing massage. And as it turns out, I didn't, you know, maybe like a few months of doing massage, but I didn't build a massage therapy practice, because when I was
Yeah.
in massage school, I was in clinic and I saw an ad for John Barnes' myofascial release. And there was a picture of John Barnes, and he just kind of sparkled off the page. And I was like, wow, it's like, I got this whole like full body tingle, and I went, I got to go take one of his class. And I was the first class that was closest to me I was living in New England at the time. So it was Providence, Rhode Island. And
Yeah.
it was just a few months after I had graduated from massage school. So I went and I did that, and I just never went back to massage. I was like, this is the work. It just
Yeah.
flowed. Though when I listened to him speak, it was he connected all of the dots for me through the fascial system, and it just made so much sense to all the things I was learning about quantum physics and belief systems and all of that kind of stuff, and how it plays into the physical systems of our body, and the
Yeah.
connective web that is the fascia, and how it holds everything. And I was just
And
kind
it
of,
is interesting how that could be the portal to go into all those other realms, you know, that you
yeah,
came in through that myofascia. I did
yeah.
that, the lymphatic system, and took a class in
Mhm.
lymphatic massage, but I always wanted to do the myofascia. So I'm glad you're mentioning this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because when I spoke with Deborah, our common friend,
Yeah.
she like was like, oh, I keep hearing about this fascia stuff, like, and myofascial stuff. What is this? What is this? You know?
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's like for me, it's become, because I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And
Hmm.
I've done it to the point of mastery. You know, it was when I was just so thirsty for this wisdom of how the body really works, not how it works as a mechanism, but how it works as an organism, and how it's
Yeah.
interwoven into the entirety of everything, you know, and that it's not like this, you know, sense of separate, like here's this body and
Uh-huh.
my soul is in it. It's like, oh, my soul is this energy field that created the matter of my body through this,
Mm.
like, you know, this, we could call it a metaphor of a web, whether it's actual or
Right.
not. But, you know, we talk about the web of the cosmos. And when you look, you know, at um, pictures, astronomical pictures of the cosmos, you'll see that
Yeah.
web. You see that web everywhere, and
Yeah. Internally in our body. And
yeah.
it imprints everything you go through. I mean, the cellular memory is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's holding like
Yeah,
a historian.
yeah, I always say, like, to people, I used to say, I don't say it anymore, but when I was first working with people, I would say, you know, that it's just like going on an anthropological dig, you know, because everything is here, even past life stuff. Sometimes we bring things in through our past lives, and ancestrally, it plays
Yeah.
through our systems. And it's more than energy. Our body follows a pattern. We move in that way. Like, you ever see like people in the same family, and you're like watching them walk, and like the
Oh,
father
heck
and the
yeah.
son are holding their body exactly the same way. There's a belief
That
pattern
DNA
in there.
coding, and you think of the spiral of the DNA
Yeah,
the
well, actually, it's
helix.
more the belief system informs the DNA.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
the DNA itself. It's the if you read the book by Genie and our what's his name, Dawson Church, The Genie in Our Genes, he really
Mm,
goes
love that.
into the magic of the DNA. And then there's Biology of Belief with written by
Yeah, I
Bruce
love that.
Lipton, who talks about, it's the cell membrane
Hmm.
that is the brain of the cell, not the DNA. The DNA just is the agent that expresses the belief
Right.
systems. DNA goes
Yeah.
backwards and forwards. So we have this really strong belief culturally that it's the DNA. If there's something genetic, you're going to get it, and it's a death sentence, and it's locked in
Mm.
stone. No, 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 no.
Oh,
Everything's fluid and malleable,
yeah,
and
I
it
love that.
comes. Yeah, so you can. I mean, that's the whole work of like Joe Dispenza too.
Yeah, I
Is
really do
the
a lot of his work, his
yeah.
meditations for that reason too.
Yeah, yeah. But it's funny. It's always been a question of mine in my mind because from the work that I do, and what I see is you do have to get into the body. It can't, it's both and. So it's never just
Yeah.
one thing. And there's many different roads in, but I think there's a common thread is that we do have to pay attention to the principles of the fascial system and how it works in transporting nutrients, water. It's like the fiber optic network of our
Mm.
body, and where are those belief systems coming from, and how does our soul intertwine with all of that?
Hmm. Yes.
How do I find, like, our unconscious behavior just being driven by our belief system, and like that's the work that we're doing, is like reprogramming those
Right.
long
Yeah.
held beliefs, because the way our culture is moving right now into like the new earth energies that are coming in, a lot of these belief systems and ways of doing things are causing a great deal of dysfunction in
Yeah.
society and in our bodies.
And
So
how to unlearn that, how to unravel and really install new beliefs that are really connecting to that authenticity, not just conditioned by the culture, society, past lives.
yeah, it's really like sitting and watching yourself, and
Yeah.
sitting and seeing yourself doing something and asking the question, well, why did I do that? Did I
Mm.
really choose this thing? you know or was it just chosen for me through my unconscious behaviors and belief patterns? And
Yeah,
so when
like
we're
a habit.
talking, yeah, and we're talking about getting stuck, I don't like to think of us as being stuck because everything's always moving. So we may not be
Right.
going in the direction we want to, but that doesn't mean we're stuck, right? We're just
Mm.
going in a direction we didn't intend to go. And so it's but I feel like that's where the answers lie. And I want to create this, but I keep creating that. And how do I keep ending up with that thing that I didn't think I wanted? And it's, to me, I think it's all about learning about your soul and learning to surrender to your soul. And that's the truth of
Mhm.
who you are, and,
Mhm.
that, kind of going back to my pathway, when I was doing my fascia work, I became very quickly moved into like becoming an instructor and working alongside John. And then I ended up working in his clinic. And that's how I
Mhm.
moved out to Sedona from New England. And so I was really really into it and really working at a high level. And what I love about that work is like, it's techniques, and you can call it a certain thing, but it goes way beyond techniques. Techniques in any modality, no matter what it is just the doorway into the system. And I think it's the understanding that you're working in a system that isn't just physical. It's a
Yeah.
system that encompasses energetics, emotions, and past memories, all kinds of stuff. It's a whole cosmos in and of itself. So
Hmm.
thinking of
Love that.
yeah, right. So
Love
thinking
how you
of
word that.
the person who's standing before you has a whole history, has a whole culture, has a whole unique signature and vibration, and has a soul that has a
Mm.
purpose. And sometimes that purpose can be living through what we might call a nightmarish experience, or having some sort of physical illness, that's the experience that soul wants to have for the best amount of learning. And here we are, like, trying to fix things and make things better,
Judge it
right?
as wrong.
Yeah, making it wrong. And I think that whole idea of like being stuck, I think kind of enters into that making it wrong. Like it's
Right.
like, just because
And
I
I
don't
think it's
like how something's going. Yeah, go ahead.
like we were saying, there's unconscious patterns, and that's I know our friend Deborah would say you're caught in the spin cycle. I love when she says that, because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it's just an unconscious moving, but you're not aware that you're functioning from that old pattern. And from
Mm-hmm.
there, it's really awareness, like you say, to get in touch with the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So through this myofascial training, you were able to tap into the deeper cosmos of your own being, really.
Yeah, and it's funny, a
Right.
lot of therapists, I mean, it's a tight network of therapists when you become a myofascial therapist. It's really interesting. And because it starts off like, it starts you off on this journey of like, you know, who am I? Not everybody goes on that though, but a lot of therapists I know ended up going into some sort of esoteric other
Interesting.
teachings, you know,
Yeah.
because John himself teaches, you know, from a place of like a shaman has there's an element of shamanism in it, and it's like the
Mhm.
huna is the Hawaiian version of shamanism, and he talks a
Cool.
lot about Serge Kahili King, who's a kahuna in Hawaii. And so of course he's mentioning that guy, so I got to go read everything about this guy, and you know, kind of take
Right.
his classes too. So
Yes.
um it just leads you, because it can't, that's what I mean. It's like one modality is as awesome as it is. And it's more about the approach. It's
Mm,
how you learn to approach the body, and going slow and allowing the body's wisdom to open up and
mm,
reveal. And when you learn that, you don't burn out as a therapist, because
mm,
you know, you really truly see yourself as the facilitator, as the space holder, as the mirror reflecting. And
mhm.
you know, and as long as you learn how to use universal energy and not coming from your own energy,
Yeah.
you'll tend not to burn out. And I say that, and this is the paradox that I'm going to say, is that I burnt out. I burnt out because I think you have to know our limits of how many people that you can hold space for in a day. And when I was working at the
Right.
clinic, it was very busy, and, you know, seven patients a day, you
Wow.
know, of being quiet, holding space. And
Yeah.
it takes a lot of concentration and
Mhm.
focus to be
Definitely.
quiet, to hear, to listen, to witness, to be on
Mhm.
top for everybody. So it's not that I was using my own energy and getting sick and burning out. It was that, oh my gosh, I can't work at this pace. This pace is
Correct.
too much for me.
Like
Yeah.
staying present, that on and present does take
Mhm.
energy and focus, and we do need to replenish our cup, you know?
Yeah. 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 And, you know, so, and I think for me too, I think I'm just really designed to work for myself. It was a great learning experience. You know, the quality of patient there, that goes there for a 2-week intensive is, you know, I
Mm.
don't want to say worst of the worst, but like they're basically,
Yeah.
when they come, it's like we're their last hope, because they've
Right.
been through so many like modalities, medical systems, and we see, you know, would see just amazing miracles of people there.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it too, versus, you know, that's why I actually do intensives too, because I know the power of when you're out of your life, you're out of your day to day, and you're
Right.
focused in just on you.
Yeah.
That's how you move big chunks of trauma, big chunks of energy, and start to evolve. Because
Uh-huh.
when you're doing it like an hour a week, even, you know, most people, if you
Right.
did an hour a week session, or like every other week, you go there, you open up, things happen, and then you get in your car and you go back into life, right? The kids
Yeah.
fighting, husband doing
And the
something
patterns come
silly.
right back.
Yeah. So like all the work that you just did or insight that you may have had just kind of like go back to wherever they were, because I got to like now return back too quickly
Hmm.
to my life. So it's harder to make, it's not that you can't make the change, it's just harder to make the change. When you're doing an intensive, you're in
Yeah.
it. You're away from all of those distractions of life and you're focused in only on you. And then once you go back to life, you go, holy crap, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, and you
Because
can
you made all
actually
these changes.
rewire. You can
Mhm,
actually rewire some of that when you're in that environment of away from regular life.
mhm,
The rewiring of setting a new pattern, so it's
mhm.
even more obvious going back into regular life that, oh, you know, I really like how I am now, and oh, this old way isn't working anymore.
Yeah, what I always tell people is remember you did all the changing.
Yeah.
Nothing back home is going to change. And so when you go back in, it's very different. There's going to be like turbulence.
Yeah.
There's going to be turbulence because when you're, especially when you're living with somebody and they're still in the pattern.
Right. And
Everything
you're
is
the pattern
patterns.
interrupt.
You're the pattern interrupt, right? And so sometimes that gets a little hard. So that's why I offer like at the, when someone's done working here with me, I offer a couple of Zoom sessions to help integrate so that they
Yeah.
stay in, keeping the energy, the openings that they got and integrating the wisdoms that came through and,
Right.
integrating and
Oh, yeah.
implementing all of those changes and hearing what's getting in the way and helping them to kind of move through it. Because that's, I think, just as important is, now
Mhm.
that you know all of this stuff, it's like now I got to
Right.
like learn how to drive the car in traffic, right?
Yeah, that's the real work.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm on this lonely road and it's really wonderful and I'm all by myself and like, oh no, I'm in LA traffic.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
tell me about your retreats now. What is
yeah,
that program?
yeah, so I actually tailor my retreats to the person coming. So it can,
Mm,
I mix the modalities of creative expression, shamanic work here at my altar. This is a Pachacuti Mesa altar.
mm,
I do a lot of work, ceremonial work on the lands. I have a good relationship with the land here in Sedona, and then body work. So to when you decide like, oh, I want to do a retreat, we have a couple of meetings before, and so I can hear what your needs are, and then I tailor the amount of body work you're going to get with land and stuff like that. So I just
mm.
actually, I do weekend retreats. I just started doing that, weekend retreats and then week-long retreats, and I'm going to start adding like group retreats. So that's going to
Beautiful.
be, yeah, fun too, where you can come with a group of your friends and do
Yeah,
some
that would be
land
powerful.
ceremony. I mean, powerful land ceremony, with more than, with a nice little group all focused on the same thing. But yeah, so the amount of work we do is really dependent on what your goals are, what your vision is, and what you're hoping to achieve.
Yeah.
So with the person that was just here this past weekend, she wanted to do her retreat like basically the first weekend of the year. Um,
Yeah.
and because she wanted to start off her year in moving towards expansion and becoming more and being more in her business and in her company. And
Mm,
so, what I do is then I kind of call her Sombra in her spiritual double. And I converse with that at the altar. And then I just kind of work out a plan of like how much body work is she going to need versus how much land work. So we did a lot of land work and it was more
mm.
ceremonial, less expressive art and then a balance of body work in there too. So, and
Beautiful.
yeah, she had a lot of openings and it was really good. So that's what I love about it for me too, is because I go through the journey with them, and
Yeah.
all I really do is I just set up the stage for them to have the experience. and hold the space while they're doing it. So it's joyful work for me. I love it. And
Beautiful.
yeah.
And how did you learn or study, or however you would word, the Pachacuti altar? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so the Pachacuti Mesa tradition, that's called PMT, that's what we call it, PMT, was started by Oscar Miro Casada, but it goes back further than him. It's a blend of two Peruvian lineages.
Mm.
And he had those two teachers, and he was sanctioned by them to, and that, by the way, that is very unusual and unique to have two apprenticeships in with a Peruvian shaman. He's from Peru. He's half American and half Peruvian. His father was from Peru. His mother was from America, and he spent time in both places growing up. And so he found himself in an apprenticeship with his teacher Don Celso, and learned one of the medicine ways there. And then when he passed, he went to another teacher, Don Benito, who learned a different, more of a coastal region versus the highlands. And so he was actually sanctioned to blend those together along with, other practices that he does in like esoteric teachings and mystery school teachings.
Oh,
And
great.
formed the Pachacuti Mesa tradition of universal shamanism. So the beauty of this shamanism is that you bring yourself to it. There's the tradition, there's the medicine ways and the practices that you learn how to do. You get initiated into into the ways of being and ways of expressing it, but then you can add your culture to it as well. And so my altar, it's huge, but not as big as some. It just kind of grew over time. It started off by like a 2 foot by 2 foot square with 7 basic pieces. And the more you work it, the more stuff happens. And I have a woman who's a spiritual sister of mine, and we do a lot of work together. She has a place here in Sedona, and right now she's in Bali, and we connect over Zoom once a week, and we do ceremonial stuff, and she weaves in, her stuff into what I am doing, and she weaves my stuff into what she's doing. And so she actually has like cards of all of these guide paintings that I did, and she has them on her altar. So we mirror each other, and we do a lot of medicine work that way. But everything to me is an evolution. And I think and everything grows. And that's why this tradition has been in existence for such a long time, as it's been handed down from generation to generation. It's transcends and includes. It doesn't go, like, our religion, Catholic religion or whatever. It's like, no, it's not inclusive of anything. This is how it is, and this is how you're going to be. And the Peruvian people were like, no, if it makes sense, we're going to weave it in, because everything's a tapestry, right? That's the metaphor,
Right.
the
That's
Greek
beautiful.
tapestry. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's a very earth-centered, earth-honoring tradition. And it's all, based in Aini and which is sacred reciprocity. Aini is the word for sacred reciprocity in Quechua, which is the language of the Peruvian people. And so you don't think about, going out in the land and, doing a ceremony without giving some sort of offering, to the land and to the spirits of the land. And that's one of the things too we do as we wrap up our intensive time together, is we do an offering. It's called a despacho, and a despacho is it's an offering to the nature spirits. It's like a ritual feeding. And so it's like this beautiful mandala you make on paper, and you fold it up, and you can offer it into the fire, water, or you can bury it. So there's 3 different ways of making that offering. And it's more of just, thank you for all of the support from all of the energies of the land here, the spirits of the land,
Beautiful.
Yeah, all of that.
I love how you weave that into your retreat. You have all these different modalities, and then of course mirrored in the altar.
Yeah. And it all comes together beautifully. It really is a weaving. And, a lot of the feedback I get is like what they learn from being on the land is how healing Pachamama is for us when you surrender, and that how important that connection to the land is. And when you think about it, it really is all there is. We've forgotten the rhythm of nature. We forgot how to be in communion with nature. We forgot that, earth is our mother. We're no different than the trees and the plants that grow in her, the rocks, we're sentient beings just like everyone else, but we have the will to choose to be part of it and know our place in it, or to be above it and it doesn't matter, and self-important, and acquiring things and power and wealth and all those other things, without considering what is that doing to the place where I'm living.
Yeah, I think we're finally getting there as a human race to see the impact of
and that's if you believe it, right? Because there's still a lot of people that don't believe it, that how can humankind make an impact on the earth where it's causing global warming? That's just a ruse, and there's people that think that. So and it's, to me, it's like, how can you not, if you're dumping pollutants into the oceans, how can it not affect the ocean? If you're dumping pollutants into the sky, how can it not affect the weather? How can it not?
We're all connected.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are waking up to that. And that's what I find is so healing for me, to see people waking up to really acknowledging and feeling that connection, that we are very connected to each other, to the planet. And I think that whole quantum physics has helped too, to bring out that awareness in the science world that is so powerful.
Yeah.
And of course, the work you're doing.
Thanks.
We need you.
Yeah, we need everyone doing this work. And that's, one of the things that I thought was so beautiful this weekend is, my client, I kept seeing her as a healer, but not in the traditional sense. It's how she's using her medicine to go out into the world, into the work that she does in a very say like traditional business setting, and helping to shift patterns in that world. And so that's another application for a healing medicine, so it's like, you don't have to be a teacher of a certain, medicine way, or, work hands-on with somebody. Just even your presence, when you're doing your inner work and you're changing your physicality and you're letting your light shine through you, you're changing everybody. It's the ripple, right? Anyone that you come in contact with, there's this thing called entrainment. So when you are standing in the truth of who you are, you're vibrating at the true rate of your unique song. That is you, the truth of who you are. And it allows others to do the same. Will they do it? That's up to them. You may end up intimidating somebody, but it's not about you. It's like, we're, Marianne Williamson poem, we're more afraid of our light than we are our darkness. We're afraid of our power, because what does it mean? What does it mean if we're standing in our power?
There's so many,
so many. Leave that as a question.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we could definitely go down that rabbit hole.
I think it's going to be different for each person, but I think it's a great question to ask yourself. Totally. Like, totally.
Yeah. Why am I afraid of my light? And, back to the old memories, old things stuck in the body, definitely I have old memories of being persecuted from other lives to show my light. And then I think we're coming to a different energy on the planet where we can show our light, and many of us are, and that it's, I want to say safer, but it's not so much safer, but it's,
think of it this way. If more of us are doing it, there is safety in numbers in a sense, right?
Right. That's
that being said, let's leave the past in the past,
Right.
I also have been studying in this past year. I started studying QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnotherapy technique by Dolores Cannon. So I've been doing a lot of past life regressions this year. to learn it. And that's one of the things that like keeps coming up is like the super conscious saying like, let's leave the past in the past. Like you've learned that
Right.
lesson. You don't need to
Yeah.
bring it along with you. It's almost like, that fluffy little blanket you had when you were a kid. It doesn't serve you anymore, but you
Oh,
just can't
yeah.
let it go. It's the uncomfortable, comfortable, you don't want anybody to see you carrying around your blankie, but you're
Oh,
going to
it was
try.
traumatic when my mother threw it away.
See, another trauma. Yeah,
It
because you
was my
grow
best friend.
attached. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
I
for
think,
sure.
so I think, overall in my whole, journey of doing this work for a really long time, it's, I come to see healing as a very different thing. And it's almost like, I have a hard time using the word healer or heal because I feel like
Yeah.
it's not really accurate to how we
Uh-huh.
think about what healing is, because I think we think about it in terms of, I have this problem that I'm stuck
Mm,
in, and I'm going to go to you and you're going to be the expert that tells me how I'm going to heal it, or you're going to heal it for me. You're going to take it away from me. And, the way I look at it now is like my question when I'm working with someone is like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what are you creating and why did you create it? And how
mm,
is it serving? Well, it isn't. No, it is. It's serving something, because everything
yeah.
is in service to something. And it's just asking that question, well, what is it serving? So is it keeping your self, poor self-esteem in check? Is it,
Or
keeping
keeping
you
me safe, whatever that
keeping,
means.
yeah, even though I want to be bigger, being bigger means I'm going to be seen. And so if I sabotage myself unconsciously, with a
Yeah.
sickness or, this other physical thing, then I don't have to be seen and I can take a pass, but I can stay in the battle of trying to be seen. Right. So,
Yeah.
and it's an inner turmoil. Right. And so how,
Yeah. And I think the healing is really incorrect in the sense of where I feel we're at maybe on the soul evolution embodied is, can I be more of who I am? It's not about healing and something's broken. It's really,
Mhm,
and that's how I feel your work is really bringing somebody out to
mhm.
see, like, what do you have in there?
Yeah, how does that want to express? And so,
Mhm.
I take like creativity expression being an artist, and I kind of like, it's not about how great it looks on paper, right? Or what modality you're using, like paint, drawing or whatever. I can't draw a stick figure. No, that's not like creation is you're creating your life. And are you creating the life that you love? And if you
Yeah.
don't love it, then why do it? That's another great question. Like I love giving people questions to sit in
Right.
contemplation with, because,
I love that.
it's so easy to try and get answers. That's our linear mind loves to have the answers, but like, let's sit in the question for a little bit and see what comes,
I
because the
used to get
answers are
mad
all
at my
around us.
mother. My mother used to say it's really the quality of the question in what the quality of the outcome will be. And I would be, oh, I got to get good at asking questions.
Mhm, mhm.
And you have some really powerful questions. I love that.
Thanks.
So if
Yeah.
somebody wants to find you and maybe experience some of your work, how would they go about reaching out to you?
Yeah. So cosmicdreaminglodge.com would be the place to
Ooh,
start.
love
So,
that name.
yeah, that's the name of this lodge that I work in that kind of came about through, post COVID. Yeah, my COVID story is kind of interesting, but I went from doing hands-on work to like just happen to be in the hardcore business program that you're in,
Uh-huh.
and not even knowing really why. And I launched my first summit and I was in their leadership program, and then COVID hit and I was like, oh, cool. I have this email list that I just got. And so I guess I'm going to start teaching online classes.
It's
So, and then,
brilliant.
over time, the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge kind of appeared through, I started getting the hit to start painting my guides. You start bringing them into form, and all of these paintings came in very differently.
Mm.
As drawings first, I have sketches going back to 2014 of some of these guides, and not really knowing that that's what I was drawing, because I just do a lot of unconscious stuff when I draw. And they all came into ceremony. At one point I had a lot of just blank canvases around and just doing ceremony and welcoming them in and them painting. So this has been an ongoing project for going on 4 years. And so that too is an evolutionary process, because these guides do carry a presence when you're here in the lodge and we're connecting
I
with
feel it just
them.
through your paintings.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's been some pretty cool stuff that happens here. So that's the name that they gave me, is Cosmic Dreaming Lodge. And it's really like the cosmic dream, right? We're coming into an understanding of who we are as citizens of the earth in context of the greater cosmos, that we're not the only life form in the cosmos, that we're going to have to start growing up a little bit to see how we can fit in with the rest of the life forms in the universe and in the cosmos. So that's kind
Well,
of
I'm glad they
the
contacted
idea.
you, because you are quite the mentor, and so impressed with the playful work you're doing.
Thank you. Yes, it does take play. You have
That's
to let
definitely one of
yourself
my
feel
words for
silly.
this. Definitely one of my words this year is to be more playful. So thank you for inspiring me. I'm very excited to tap into seeing what those guides are bringing through you, what to create in this world. And I definitely want to, like I said, go on one of your retreats. So you're definitely in my mind now to
Awesome.
work
Well, we'd love to
more.
have you out here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope that we get to talk again, and I so appreciate your time, and it's been just so rich with so much that I resonate with. Is there anything you are I want to say, I was going to say begging to say more, any last thoughts you have to wrap it up?
Yeah, it's funny. And I can always keep talking. That's the thing. So much to
I can
say.
too.
But yeah, I think, leaving it here, you know, first and foremost, how to find me, Cosmic Dreaming Lodge. I have a Substack that I do a lot of writing on, this kind of stuff. I think that's would be a great place to start if you want to start following the work that I do. It's opening things up. And, my mission is, really to get you past yourself and start letting your light shine. So that's what I would love to leave everybody with, is just remember who you are. Remember why you came, and that you have a value and worth beyond whatever your programming has been telling you. Start believing it.
Powerful message. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we will talk again.